POA. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Selectmen regular meeting of Wednesday, July 11th. It's 5:01, and item 1 on our agenda this evening is the Woodbridge Board of Education. Superintendent Robert Gilbert. Come on out.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bob, could you turn the mic on?
I certainly will. Is that working? Oh, now it's working, right? Yeah. Okay. The red light is on means it's on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Red means go.
All right. So, happy summer, everybody, and I hope you're all doing well. It's good to see you. And my format for my report is pretty much similar to others. I'll just hit the highlights of what's been happening. As you know, school year ended on the 19th of June. We had a great graduation at Amity High School. We brought our 6th graders, and our parents came over, and it was a great celebration. And we sent our 6th graders off to the middle school, and we're welcoming a new class of kindergartners in to Beecher Road. So the transition has happened. We're into the new fiscal year and into the new year for planning for next school year. Enrollment, it's really too early to tell in terms of where we are, but I can tell you that about now, on July 11th, we have about as many move-ins as move-outs. We've had, people say we're leaving town because we're going to wherever we're going, and we've had a lot of move-ins. About the same, about an even exchange, and we have still a good 6 weeks to know, how many move-ins that we don't know about are going to be coming to our doorstep. So we'll keep you posted, maybe in the August meeting. As well as September, we'll let you know where we started the year. But just as a reminder, we did end the year with 850 students, which was a 6.5 increase over the prior year, which again was a substantial considering the trends that go on in the state of Connecticut at this point for most schools. Programming for the summer. Our summer programs are in full swing. Summer enrichment program is going it's in its 3rd week. Summer Scholars is also in its 3rd week. Special Education Summer School programming is going on. And our Extended Day program runs as well during the summer. It runs from 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning and then for the afternoon as well. And of course, side by side with us is the Recreation Department and all the programming that Recreation does. And we're all working together. We've actually shared some resources and shared some services this year for the first time in a long time. We're sharing a nurse between Recreation and our summer enrichment in the morning to save costs and to actually be more efficient. And actually, I think probably have more continuity and consistency. So we're looking at those programs as well for savings whenever we can. There's a strong level of sign-ups in these programs this summer, and all is going well. Staffing. We are in the final stages of our staffing for the fall. We have a few staffing changes due to the retirements we had, as well as the 1.5 new positions that were in our budget and approved. So that's in process, and we're in the final stages. Facility-wise, as you know, as I mentioned, we have a growing enrollment. We've added some positions, and space becomes a question mark sometimes, or a little bit of a challenge. So it was just this week on Monday that our business office, Mr. Pulo is here right to my back side on the right side here. The business office moved to the basement of Town Hall, right in this building. And I'd like to thank Beth and Tony for their support and flexibility, as well as to the whole Town Hall staff. Many of you who are around the table who are opening your doors and opening your arms for us. So moving our business office here is helping us to free up space at Beecher Road. In the coming weeks, the recreation office will move down to where the business office once was, and then we'll be able to use the recreation office for some of our programming and our growing enrollment to meet the needs of our kids. So that is happening in probably the biggest news of our facilities. Of course, there is, despite the school running at full tilt with summer programs, we are in the cleaning and maintenance and painting mode, and that is underway and will continue throughout the summer. Board of Education news. The Board of Education will hold their annual planning retreat on July 25th. This will be facilitated by Bob Rader. He is from the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. Bob has facilitated board retreats before. He did it last year with us, and we're looking forward to his assistance as we kind of review the year and look forward to the year coming up and what we have in store for us. Recently, the board also initiated an enrichment ad hoc committee, and they'll get started on their work next week. That's an enrichment ad hoc committee made up of board members, administrators, teachers, parents, and a non-certified staff member as well. Many of you are probably wondering when is the bridge coming out, the annual summer publication that comes from the Woodbridge Board of Education, Beach Road School. I was working on that with our editor today, and this publication should be coming out to all households in town within a couple of weeks. So be looking for it, and it's a great way for us to help our townspeople know what's going on, the good news, the changes, the initiatives, and all of that. My final item for tonight is financial. Our fiscal year ended on June 30th. As you know, as we've been talking all year long, we've had a deficit that has been due to unanticipated special education costs. As recently as the last time I came to speak to you, the overall deficit was actually north of $180,000. As a result of a number of careful adjustments, those adjustments include releasing a number of encumbrances in areas such as overtime, utilities, employee benefits, wintergreen tuition and transportation, and also as a result of some savings attributable to some staff vacancies that got filled where there's a little bit of a lapse time in between, also attributable to some retirements that we had, as well as some healthcare census changes. Our special education deficit of $230,000 and change was brought down to $97,000. So I believe you have a letter from me tonight that addresses this, and it also obviously addresses my respectful request of all of you to approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $97,000. So that ends my report. I'd be glad to take any questions about the supplemental appropriation request as well as any other part of my report.
I do have one quick question. So, Bob, you mentioned part of the deficit was reduced by the release of encumbrances. Is that because that money no longer needed to be encumbered, or
so we
just taking money that needs to be?
So, for an example, we plan a certain amount of overtime for custodial overtime for, it can be anything from snow removal to other kinds of unforeseen situations. So that's an example of an encumbrance that we want to hold that until almost the very end, not knowing what we don't know about the year. So there's something that's released there. Until the last utility bill comes in, we're holding our utilities, in check and whatever the bottom line we had planned. And so there's another area that, for instance, was released later on. So I think those are pretty typical. And sometimes,
so it's not money we need to, it's just money you hadn't used, you set aside and didn't need.
Correct. That line item happened to work out to our favor, where another line item might not work out to our favor, but those did.
Good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Item 2 on the agenda is committees reports, and tonight we have one committee reporting, Ordinance Committee. I would turn it over to Chairman Nika Cardoza. Thank you, Nika.
Thank you. There were a number of items discussed at our last ordinance meeting that included the review of the leash law review of the leash law, taxation abatement for firefighters, solid waste recycling, review of the blight or potential additions to the blight ordinance, and stormwater management. And also there was an item added for discussion of an agricultural commission. 2 of those items we did vote on, and we voted to present them to the Board of Selectmen for town meeting and for approval by the board. And those are the dog leash ordinance, which was which was just made less stringent and more consistent with what the state policy is and what our community neighbors' current ordinances also state. And the second one was the tax abatement for the firefighters. This is specifically for firefighters after they've been with the volunteer fire department for at least 2 years and it gives them an abatement off of their taxes, depending on the number of years, from $250 to $750 off of their taxes for meeting very specific criteria that's outlined in the ordinance as to the number of calls they go on, the number of meetings they attend, and the number of training sessions they attend, and things of that nature. So if they meet the criteria, they qualify for the abatement. So those are the 2 that are presented. We will be reviewing the other 4 at our next meeting, and which we've scheduled for August timeframe.
Yeah, it's
We
in
have-
the draft minutes
Thank
there.
Thank you.
I think there were a couple of, perhaps I would say, revisions to the Town of Woodbridge tax abatement for the fire department that came up this afternoon on the advice of our wonderful tax collector, Pat Crisco. So maybe Tony wants to mention those
I can
to us.
certainly do that.
Yeah, go
Thank
over
you.
those. We reviewed them with Jerry Weiner as well, who's on his way from Hartford.
The first was
Thank you.
section 4 that in Woodbridge, it's the tax assessor that actually keeps a record and abates actually does the abating of the taxes as opposed to the tax collector. To make that clear in the language here. And so the tax collector doesn't have the ability to abate taxes. It's the assessor that does that. So that was the first thing, which was a very good point. The second was just observation that on the tax abatement program for the seniors, there's a provision that says that if you're delinquent in your taxes, you don't qualify. So is that something we want to put in this?
I think that's a very reasonable.
And I thought that was a very good suggestion.
Yeah.
That was also a very good suggestion. So we'll get that language in.
Okay.
And
Those were the two things that
okay. Does anyone have any questions on the two? Go ahead, David.
On the leash law, what are the changes from the old law? And I see taken out the 8-foot leash definition, and I see a carve out for any areas that are designated as off leash, which I guess is looking to the future. Are there any other substantial changes here?
There was an additional change related to that indicated private property or non-town property.
Private property, okay.
Private property that was also removed from there because it was a little confusing and a little restrictive.
Okay.
The fireman abatement, tax abatement. Can you give us a little bit of the backstory of that? How that came about?
The fire department the volunteer fire department specifically requested it in light of a number of other communities that are also doing have the same type of program, which is a tax abatement. In town here, we do have what I'll refer to as a more of a retirement type program for firefighters who have been on the force for a considerable amount of time, and that's part of our annual budget.
Correct.
But for firefighters who are newer, less years, 3, 4, 5 years, they do not have any kind of an incentive at all. But they are volunteers. We understand that. We've had some long discussions as relates to that, and this is primarily in light of, for example, this particular winter and spring were pretty bad in terms of the number of calls. There were significantly more calls, and this will help to serve to get as many firefighters as possible. Gives them an incentive to participate on the calls because they do need to meet a minimum number of calls, and it's a percentage. So the more calls there are, obviously, that means the more you need to attend. So we felt it was appropriate to consider that as a means by which to incentivize the existing firefighters to do just that.
What is the definition of a gold badge status?
I can't explain that completely myself, David. I'm not familiar enough with that particular term. Beth, I think you might.
I might know, but I'm not sure. Over a certain number of years, is it 25 years?
That's what I wasn't sure of. It means someone who's been there.
It's longevity. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's long.
And I don't know if it's 20 or 25 years.
Okay.
But it means that you've been there and you've hit the number of years that are required in order for you to qualify for that.
And you mentioned something about retired under Section 6. One retired 40 years of service with all provisions. Does that mean that this goes forward as a retirement benefit?
No, this isn't retirement benefit. If I'm not mistaken, that indicates shall not be eligible. That's under the not be eligible.
Will not be eligible. Yeah, I was unclear on that. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Unless they have gold think that's significant years of service. Well, you can find out.
We could, certainly.
Yeah, I can get that to you guys. It's got to be 25 or more. I should know after being on the commission for many years. I don't know. Probably
Funny, I probably did know 2 weeks.
We knew at one point. Yeah. Okay. So does anyone? Oh, sure.
How large is the volunteer fire department? How many potential firemen are we talking about that are Woodbridge
50, I
residents?
think, was a number that.
Plus or minus 50.
Around 50, give or take.
That's not how many.
The only
But
ones that
that's the
qualify.
full. There's like 15 that currently qualify.
Correct, yeah.
Correct.
About
Oh,
15.
in Woodbridge, because you can be in Woodbridge.
It's okay, you have to make a certain number of calls.
But,
And then
right,
on
so-
top of that, you have to meet the criteria.
Right.
So you're
Right,
looking at-
only 15 meet all that criteria.
Right.
What we considered in doing it is what the total would be as if everyone qualified. If everyone made those calls, what would that mean from a budget standpoint? That's
Right.
kind of what we use for
It was like
consideration.
30,000, wasn't it?
26 something along those
26.
lines,
If everybody qualified?
Everybody
Something
qualified.
like
If we
that.
took it
Now,
for-
the only 15 people qualified now.
Okay.
So,
That gives you a...
and we'll be under about 12,000, but that's where the number comes from.
And this is like a retention tool, or
Well, I think if you read the whereas in the ordinance, it kind of explains the purpose of the ordinance, as I understand.
All three of them or the third one?
All of them.
All of them. Would you like me to read them?
Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
really, the
I'm just
third
saying
one.
if
The
you
third one
read-
most.
if
The
you
third
read
one
them
is
all,
pretty, to me, the
or whatever,
town of Woodbridge
it
is,
gives the
read it.
background behind the ordinance.
yeah.
Whereas the town of Woodbridge is desirous of showing its appreciation for the faithful and courageous performance of the fire department personnel in the town of Woodbridge and for encouraging others to volunteer with the fire department within the town of Woodbridge.
Third one, yeah. That's the thinking behind.
Right. So it went through the ordinance. Oh, Joe, go
No,
ahead.
just
I'm
say-
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was just, go ahead, ask questions.
No, just no question, just wants to move it.
It does bear mentioning that the request was for more than what we approved, and we felt that this would be a start. We felt that it was appropriate, particularly in light of a lot of what happened recently and the amount of time that they've put in and what's required. And I can tell you from having been there and having been at least alerted on the calls, at all times of and hours of the night, people need to leave their jobs, things of that nature. But we did feel it was an item that was adding to the budget, so it was something that we took very thought of very carefully, and felt that it was merited at this point in time.
And surrounding towns, I don't know them all, but there's significant surrounding towns
Correct.
that do this.
All of which,
In other towns, and we, for once, at least, or we're not at the top of that range.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
All of which are
I think that feels
Yeah,
like,
right.
you know,
the state statute allows the communities to do up to $1,000, and in this particular
And a lot
instance,
of our surrounding towns
every
are
other one that we've
1,000.
seen allows for
right.
the maximum of
Exactly.
$1,000. We didn't go that route.
750.
So is the plan,
Close,
is the
correct.
plan to cap this at this level, or is this going to be negotiable going forward?
No, it's an ordinance, so it is what it is. It could always
We
be
would-
changed.
we could change the
Have to go
ordinance,
through the
take
same process.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Anything else? So,
I just want to add, there was a study several years ago, Shelton Robin, which stated that volunteer firemen saved the towns and communities in the state of something close to $12 million a year. If it wasn't
Wow.
for the volunteerism, then the cost for the communities would be extraordinary.
good point.
My last comment would
Sorry,
be,
it's okay.
what kind of brought it home for me was, it does specifically reward those firefighters who participate and who do the work. And those are the ones who will be rewarded. And those who are the ones who can take advantage of this. It's not just for being on the fire department, but it's rather for doing the good work they do.
Don't we also have a volunteer incentive that's structured the same way?
There's a retirement type of program that's associated with that. That's more related to longevity, and there's in terms of a program that we have. That's not. It's
There's
not.
also a $70,000 budget item.
That's the one.
That's
the same one.
That's the retirement. That is the budget. That is
But that's paid out every year.
It is.
Okay.
It
in the
is.
budget. Right.
But the
It's in the budget.
firefighters don't get it until they left fire.
Right.
Do we actually spend that every year?
Yeah,
Yes.
we do. Yeah.
The alternative to something like this would have been increasing something like that, but that doesn't really address the newer folks who you're trying to get on the and that's why we went this route instead of looking at increasing something along that line.
No, the fire department, treats the town well, and I think the town treats the fire department well.
I agree with
So,
you.
It's mutually beneficial.
I agree with you.
So our next,
So Tony, did you
Yeah.
mention those?
I did.
Okay,
Yep.
you did, okay.
there's two
So
changes.
We
We
need a
did them.
motion for the Board of Selectmen to schedule the tax abatement proposed ordinance for a public hearing.
as well as
With
the
those
lease
two
law.
changes.
Oh, did you do
both.
the- you did
We
the lease law?
We did
Yeah.
them both.
Yeah, both.
If everyone's comfortable with the language and the two changes that we made to the tax abatement. Okay, so
I'll make a motion.
thank you that we scheduled. We should make it for next August 11th, 8th. whatever.
Jerry Shaw does those scheduling, so
Yeah, I'm just-
I think you need 30 days. It has to be published, the notice of the public.
Right, so you don't have 30 days between now and August 8th.
So we don't have enough time. So it's every
So
September.
we'll do it at the September meeting. We'll schedule a public hearing for September,
Right.
whatever the second Wednesday of September is. We'll have our Board of Selectmen meeting that night. We'll schedule a public hearing for both those items. So Terry made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I just had one other comment on the leash law. You talked about an off-leash area. Are we contemplating an off-leash area? I mean, I for one would support something like
I
that.
think the dog park.
The reason we
Well, yeah, there is
the
a
reason
dog
we
park.
opted to go that direction specifically with that language, David, is because obviously there's a plan for a dog park and we're working a lot toward
Right.
that. However, that doesn't mean that there won't be another area that would be considered and or named as being an off-leash area.
Actually, when we first
didn't want to go back
when we
and
first talked about that, we said
dog park.
definitely excluding the dog park, but then we said in addition off leash.
Right, we didn't want to have to
the
go
dog
back.
off leash is broad enough to include the dog park, so the dog park didn't make its way in. But when
Correct.
we first talked about it,
Right.
we talked about both the dog park and an off leash. So
We didn't.
I'd support another at least discussion of an off leash area as well.
Well,
in
I think
addition
that
to
the ordinance says off-leash area, and
Yes.
if I remember
No,
correctly.
the ordinance is fine. David's
Right.
trying to get in.
Oh,
Talking
yes.
about another. Would we consider a dog park as well as
My
an
sense is
off-leash
that
area?
my sense, and as Joe said his comment, my sense is that certainly is something that could come up. And what we didn't want to do is have to change the ordinance if it did, which is the reason the
We can do
language
that
is in the
on
ordinance.
another, if you want to do that in another meeting, Dave.
So
you know,
for
bring that up.
purposes of this,
Yeah.
but if that's a different topic,
Keep me
different
honest,
issue.
Reminds
Right.
me.
I put down my marker.
You'd like to do that, but remind me. Okay.
The ordinance allows you to do that.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Okay, good.
So we have a motion second. I'll call the question. Is all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
So Beth, that's September 12th.
Thank you. So it'll be September 12th. Very good. Okay, item 3 is the first selectmen's report. And I'm going to try to keep my report brief this month to go along with our relatively short agenda this evening. One note regarding an item that was tentatively planned for tonight, but which we removed from the agenda. We had anticipated more information regarding at least one of our previously mentioned proposals for the former Country Club of Woodbridge property. But due to an unforeseen medical situation with a family member of one of the principals of the company, the proposed details are not ready for further consideration tonight. We will look to schedule this for an upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting, hopefully at the August 8th meeting. Here are some of the events, meetings, and community gatherings I took part in this past month. On June 15th, I attended Amity High School graduation ceremony. It was a beautiful day and always a lovely event that allows us to join with families to celebrate the success of our young people. The same sentiment prevailed at the Amity Middle School Bethany promotion ceremony on June 19th, and the Beach Road School graduation also that same day. It's always time well spent to attend these ceremonies, and I'm thankful to be invited to give brief remarks to congratulate these students and their families. On the topic of our outstanding schools, I met briefly with the new Amity Interim Superintendent, Jim Conley, on July 5th. Jim is a familiar face, having served for 6 months as Beecher's interim superintendent while conducting the search that had brought us Dr. Stellar more than a decade ago. I'm pleased to see him again as he assists the Amity District. His involvement may last up until December, depending on when the search for a permanent superintendent concludes. We will try to use this time wisely to make progress on our various shared service and consolidation initiatives. I'll provide updates as we go along. Also on the topic of collaboration between the town and our schools, here at Town Hall, we welcome 3 members, as Bob mentioned, of the Woodbridge School District Central Office staff to offices on the ground floor here at Town Hall. In order to alleviate the space crunch at Beecher Road School as they experience increasing enrollment, the rec department staff will be shifting back into the office space immediately inside the entrance doors at Beecher Road School South. And the school's business office staff have moved into those 3 rooms, formerly occupied by the town's payroll administrator and the probate court staff. So we welcome Al Pullo, Dave Mastriana, and Ellen Tolliver. We had a meeting of the Animal Shelter Building Committee on 7/9, and today was the kickoff of the construction project. There was great communication on how the operation of the shelter will continue during construction. I attended the monthly SCROG meeting on June 27th, where the conversations about shared services and saving money for member municipalities still continues. Speaking of collaboration and with neighboring towns, I met with Orange First Selectman Jim Zioli also on 7/9, and we discussed many opportunities we would like to pursue regarding shared services. He and I both agreed that we have a lot of possibilities, so we will continue to work on that, and please stay tuned. I'll keep you posted. As you know, we had planned to hear back from both Town Plan and Zoning and the Land Trust regarding our request to them for consideration of portions of the Alleghi property to potentially site a dog park. Town Plan and Zoning has not yet met since our June Board of Selectmen meeting, and we have also not heard yet back from the Land Trust. So we do not have that information to share tonight. We have received a letter and several additional tissue pages. These are in the back of your packet as correspondence. I'd like to report some additional information relative to the Alleghi parcel as a potential dog park location. On Monday, I met with Christina Holland, who with her husband Oliver operate Off Center Farm at 48 Center Road and currently have a 1-year farming lease for portions of the abutting town-owned property at 52 Center Road and 160 Ps, which we also know collectively as the Alleghi parcel. Christina wanted to share her concerns regarding future continued use of the fields for agriculture and how the extension of the town's 1-year lease arrangements for up to 5 years would be beneficial to future plans for Off-Center Farm, and the possible complications that siting a baseball diamond or a dog park on this town parcel might introduce. In addition, as I mentioned at our last meeting, I would try to do is I met with representatives from Bethwood Baseball, Dwight Rowland and Bob Hill, on Tuesday regarding their Amity Babe Ruth program's continued need for a 90-foot baseball diamond. They were open to the concept of possibly co-locating a dog park and would like to come to the September Board of Selectmen meeting to provide an update on fundraising efforts and to discuss renewal of the Memorandum of Understanding initially authorized in August 2011. That is a dog park update. Unfortunately, not enough to talk about tonight.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Well, I just want to pass these around. So I'm not really proposing anything, although I'm identifying 2 locations. Take one past 2 locations, one at each. An additional location at Alleghi, it's marked as D.
Okay.
And an additional location option at Fitzgerald, designated
Is
as
it one
G.
paper or 2 pages?
Just one.
Okay, thanks.
And there's another one coming.
Oh, gotcha.
One's Alleghi, one's
Okay.
Fitzgerald. D at Alleghi and G at Fitzgerald.
Okay. So because it's not an item on the agenda, I'm not sure if we can
No,
talk
no,
about
I
it
just
further,
wanted
but I
to
think
put it
this
out
is,
there.
we'll get on it, we'll hit the ground running again with this tomorrow morning. So thank you for that.
So
And if anybody
at Alleghi, is that the one that's like,
Overflow parking.
oh, okay, like in
Well,
between
no,
like
not-
the parking lot and the street?
Not
C.
Yeah, it's D. I have a new map.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's not the overflow parking where the stone dust is.
Right. It's
It's
like
the one.
where there's trees right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, partial. There's a little opening, then the tree.
Got it.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Where is it?
We'll
Well,
take a look.
that's Fitzgerald, so you won't
right.
see it on the.
When you pull into the
Alleghi.
parking lot, it's like to your immediate left.
Yeah, I know where they are. They
Okay.
don't parking.
G right there.
G, yeah. This is the Chestnut Grove, isn't it?
Yep,
And this is right next to the Chestnut
it
Grove?
is.
Okay.
You say G.
G.
And this is Fitzgerald.
So we'll bring this up further, hopefully for August. Okay. Lastly, I would like to share with you my observations. Thank you, Joe, by the way. Regarding a community meeting that took place last night at the JCC. A group of residents of both Woodbridge and Bethany gathered to discuss concerns that have arisen. This was about a month ago. I had gotten some calls about the break-ins. And the town has experienced an increase in car break-ins and robberies. As you know, Police Chief Frank Cappiello has been sending out messages to the community by email, postings to the town website, and most recently using our telephone messaging system, CT Alert. If you haven't gotten that, if you didn't get anything, go to CT Alert and sign up. He wanted to urge residents to be sure to lock their vehicles and let the police know of any unusual or suspicious activity they may notice in their neighborhoods. Chief Cappiello also attended the meeting last night and provided information to residents who are interested in forming neighborhood watch groups. And that's the end of my report. So thank you. Item 4 is liaison reports. We'll start with Terry this time.
Okay. So, as you mentioned, there is an interim super for the MD School District, and they are currently in the process of a search for the full-time position of the super, and they have some dates that I wanted to share for anybody that's interested in participating. Tomorrow's the first one, Thursday, July 12th. And this is going to be at the presentation room at the high school. So I think that's the one where we have the board meetings, right? So it's in the cafeteria in the back. The next meeting is Wednesday, August 1st, and then Tuesday, August 7th, and then Thursday, August 9th. There's also, if you're not able to make any of the meetings, then you can participate by doing a survey, which is found on the MD website. And that's until the 10th, I think, right? August 10th. And that's it.
Great. Thank you. Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the police commission meetings, there are two issues that I think deserve awareness. One is the fire dispatch system. The chief passed out like 7 or 8 different options. He has a favorite option of the software system. He wanted to fairly evaluate each of the 7 and to come up with a final recommendation. So they are in the process of doing that. The other thing is very noteworthy is that 2 officers were awarded the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Awards in the department. So I believe those are 2 noteworthy issues for the police commission.
Thank you.
I attended the EDC and the rec department meetings, both of which I was late to because of other meetings that I attended. But the EDC, one of the main topics was a discussion with some of the members of the Farmers Forum who are requesting we consider a agricultural commission. And there were some questions and discussion as relates to the economical benefits, things of that nature, as you would expect to come from the EDC. And there were members who supported it, but they did not. They stated such, but there was not a quorum, so they could not make a vote or a recommendation, an official recommendation along those lines. They're looking to hopefully get some more information, and at their next meeting where they do have a quorum, hopefully we'll be discussing that. I also did attend the Conservation Commission, who also didn't have a quorum at their particular meeting, but the same topic came up there. And they hoped that they did want to wait until they had a quorum to make any official announcements as far as that's concerned. And the rec department, you mentioned that they had hoped that they'd have an opportunity to talk to you in regard to the 90-foot diamond, which they did. It was the pool is running, it's going well. They don't have as many memberships at this point, but they are still pushing for memberships with this recent warm weather. I'm sure that may have helped their cause, but I don't have the particulars on that as yet.
Thanks.
Human Services Commission did not meet. The Library Commission did not meet. Coupop did me.
Okay.
There was a presentation by Jason Morrell. In conjunction with the Conservation Commission, the Coupop is developing a classification system to rate town-owned land. So they want to rate each parcel according to human impact, the amount of human impact which is subjective. So they're classifying parcels on a continuum from low impact, which are things like forests and trails, to high impact, which are things like schools, school grounds, and playgrounds, ball fields. And they feel that classifying these parcels hopefully will tone down some of the heated, this is a quote, tone down some of the heated rhetoric when use changes are contemplated. Okay. Also, listing each parcel in an updated database would preclude having to pore over ancient records, which I've done in there. Difficult. Richard Facilius was representing the Woodbridge Park Association. He spoke about trail maintenance. The Omni Cross Country team is repairing the trail on Newton Road Park. The team will apply to the Board of Selectmen for some funding for that project. That trail needs a bridge, which would be an Eagle Scout project. That's the one kind of north of the Blue Trail. I think that's the one north of the Blue Trail. The Blue Trail system goes up across the bottom of Orchard Road, and I think that's what they're referring
Okay.
to.
You heard
Nate
anything from
Case,
funding or? No, we haven't gotten anything.
not
Okay.
yet. Nate Case is taking over some of the responsibilities of former trail master Mike Walters. Presently, he is spreading wood chips at Alice Newton Street Park. A plank walk is needed there, and that perhaps could be another Eagle project. We do have 3 Boy Scout troops in town. We should contact them. Also, there is a notable tree initiative in which about 70 trees have been nominated. And the criteria are the size, the form, the age, the rarity, the history. I don't know how you get a tree nominated. Yeah. And I apologize, I don't have this entirely correct. They're going to kill me. Either the Woodbridge Land Trust or the Woodbridge Park Association is celebrating its 90th anniversary, and it's the 3rd oldest in the state. I think it's the Land Trust, but I'm sure I'll hear about that. So that's all the news I have.
Okay. Phone's ringing off the hook now. Joe?
No report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a few minutes before public comment at 6, so I guess we'll move on to item 6, which is the Administrative Officer Director of Finances report.
Okay.
Tony? Thank you.
So I have a preliminary year-end report for you. Our budgetary surplus is a little over $400,000, and because we used $400,000 from our fund balance in our budget process, that means we'll break just about even for the fiscal year. That leaves our fund balance at $5.6 million, or 11.74%. Some of the highlights for you are taxes due to a most recent appeal has a deficit of about $128,000. Interest income is generated additional surplus of $150,000. Intergovernmental revenues, while at a high of about $300,000, has reduced to about a deficit of $158,000. Largely due to receiving some construction reimbursement funds from a prior project. Our charge for services is a shortfall of about $65,000. This is primarily in town clerk fees, rec fees, and CCW pool fees. There's a corresponding surplus, however, in the CCW pool expenditures. So they're pretty close. They sort of wash each other. Other revenues, we have the Amity surplus funds, which we discussed previously. In the expenditures, as indicated, the Board of Education is a deficit, $97,000. The Amity School District has reduced their current year allocation by a little under $240,000 due to the special education grant funds being received. The library has a surplus of about $41,000, and human services, all for pretty much the same reason, is about $31,000, and rec is $37,000. And the main reason is due to staffing vacancies, mostly part-time related, where you may have, and even some full-time, where you may have some gaps in coverage between hiring, and it results in savings for the department. The police department has a shortfall, which is addressed later on in this package, and that's due to overtime costs for most notably the homicide investigation and the storms that we've had recently, as well as some severance costs related to the lieutenant's position. And there's a contingency request to cover that deficit. The fire department will experience a shortfall of about $25,000. They had earlier submitted a transfer request, which the Board of Finance put on hold. That was about, I think that was about $35,000, so they were able to lower that by about $10,000 by using some of their budget to help offset the deficit. So the Board of Finance will take that up at a later meeting. And I think that's it.
Question.
Yes.
We broke even, if you have to consider
From a cash perspective.
But is that how is this 297.11 as recognized as unbudgeted?
So if that didn't happen, we would have a deficit of 290. Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
You should.
Yeah.
That's on that? Okay, thank you. Move on to funding requests, item B on the list. Just have to get there, sorry. First funding request is 1718-26 in the amount of $71,000. Was it alluded to?
Yep.
In the report?
Correct.
Okay. This request is for the police department and includes funding for officer overtime, investigative services overtime, and buyback sick time. And it's coming from contingency to the police department. It's all listed in the memo. In the
Is there
request
also
for
a memo
funding.
from the chief?
Yeah, there's also, right. It's all explained in the memo. If you had, hopefully you all had a chance to read the memo from Chief Chapion. So just to get it rolling, I'll make a motion that we approve funding request number 1718-26 in the amount of $71,000. Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Funding, no, this is, sorry, line item transfer?
Yeah.
Okay, line item
Line item
transfer
transfer.
number 1718-27 in the amount of $97,000. This is the Woodbridge Board of Education due to an unanticipated special education expenses that is requesting a supplemental appropriation to fund a year and deficit of $97,000. There's an attached letter in your packet from Superintendent Gilbert. I will make a motion that we approve 1718-27 in the amount of $97,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion?
This is contingency.
No, this is actually, I was going to bring that up. This is being transferred from the funds that Amity, the allocation, they reduced their allocation by.
Oh, the Amity fund.
Yeah. So it's essentially a line item transfer from the funds that we had remaining from Amity because they didn't need all of their appropriation.
I think you put that in your budget.
Yeah. So.
Any other questions on that? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, what else is there? Back to the agenda, sorry. Is that it for funding?
That's it.
Okay. Item C, Senior Center ramp bathroom update. She was going to come.
Yeah.
We can skip it maybe for a little bit. Mary Ellen was perhaps going to attend.
She was. She told she probably won't come till 6 because that's
Okay.
when it's on the agenda.
Okay.
We'll wait till she
Sure.
comes.
We'll skip that. If that's okay with everyone, we'll just go back to it. We'll move on to item D, the bid waiver state contract, and item 1 is paving.
So it's about time to do our annual paving program, and so the bid program is, as we do every year, is 2 parts. There's the reclamation part, and there's the which is milling and reclaiming, And then there's the asphalt and application portion. Warren is here just on time. We're just starting that
just
agenda
started
item.
it.
Oh, okay. So it's good timing. So as we've done in the past, we requested state bid for the milling and reclaiming portion, and also for the application and asphalt portion.
Okay, as requested, the bid waiver. I didn't hear what you said in the first where we were doing the milling and reclaiming.
Yeah, you could do either.
Okay, well, both of them are bid waivers anyways.
Right.
We've used the contractor on the state bid for basically all of our road maintenance programs in the past. Garrity Asphalt does our milling and full depth reclaiming, and so the request is for them again. Their prices have not changed over the years. So again, they work very cooperatively with my staff, and they do a good job. So that's why the request is there. On the paving, again, it's the same program that we've used previously, off of the state bid. And there were several bidders. The low bidder on the state bid was someone that I did not recommend, and that's why I didn't submit the bid waiver to use them. We've had problems with them in past, and where they produce the asphalt, it's too far away. So we went with the second low bid, which is O&G, and that's why we are requesting them for our road work, for the paving.
I'll make a motion just to get the ball rolling that we approve a bid waiver for asphalt product and application under the State of Connecticut contract bid award for O&G Industries to be our vendor based on pricing for the asphalt and application program. Correct?
Second.
Is that right? Any questions on that?
And along with your two memos, I included your.
Yeah, I gave that just as
You can
to
see what
substantiate.
Rose's planning on doing.
If you look at the state bid, it's kind of, you got to do a lot of poking and searching to get the right numbers.
Wow.
So I just put it into a spreadsheet form, so
Very helpful.
from the analysis, you can see what the difference is.
And how much it costs to reclaim the paver road.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions for Warren on the first one? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. And moving on to milling and reclaiming services for 2018, I will make a motion on the recommendation of Public Works to request a bid waiver for to approve a bid waiver for milling and reclaiming services this year, utilizing Garrity Asphalt Reclaiming State Contract Bid Award. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussions for Warren on that one?
My road's not on here.
I got none. Really?
They're all in the program eventually.
Okay.
3 miles a year.
So, sorry, David.
They can plan hard. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Take it up with him. All in favor on that one?
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. We still have 10 minutes. We'll keep going if that's okay.
Thank you, Warren.
Next one is...
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
What about police?
Yeah, I'm going to do that next. Yeah, I just want to get through the two paving and road reclamation. Item 3, under bid waivers, police vehicles. And there's a memo in your packet from Chief Frank Cappiello regarding a vehicle purchase bid waiver for 2 new 2018-19 Police Department all-wheel drive SUVs. Anything you want to add on that?
There is actually.
Okay.
So just yesterday evening, the chief called me and explained that these are the 2018s. There are no more left on the state bid, so they have to go and purchase 2019s. So we tried to get it in for the 2018s, but they did not have any more. So the numbers just changed slightly. The information is the same, but on the memo from the chief, the price of the vehicles from $29,046 to $30,041, and the purchase of each vehicle, including the outfitting of the vehicles, is $47,662 instead of $39,380.
So we already approved the
funding's already done.
first number. It's just
Yeah.
A little increase in the funding.
Correct.
My
Yeah. Because it's a model year later.
Right.
Yeah. 40,762 from 39,380.
40,000, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 47.
So it's essentially a little over $80,000 for two vehicles.
But the delta's only a couple.
Yeah, not much. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't 47,062?
40.
40. I heard 47. I heard 47,
Wait a
okay.
second.
I thought, wow, that's a huge steep. Okay, great. So would someone like to make a motion to go forward with this?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. To,
We approve the revised transfer bid waiver
Bid
for the
waiver, right.
police vehicles at $40,762 each.
Correct.
thank you.
I'll second.
Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, I noticed something on this. We're getting an upcharge here for deleting the windows and having the door locks not work.
Where are you?
I'm on the estimate.
This big thing?
Yeah, about 10 lines down. It says 18W Windows rear delete 2275
Uh-huh.
and 60HE rear doors locks inoperable.
I wonder if that has to do with someone in the back that they have taken. I'm speculating.
Yeah, you want somebody to jump out?
No, that's not his question.
That's not my
Okay.
He's
question.
questioning why it costs
Why
more.
do we have an upcharge when you're taking something away?
Well, because it's
I
a
know they don't
different
do something.
manufacturing
Right.
process.
They gotta go in
And
and
they
do
probably
it.
have to
Right.
take it off the line.
It's as
right
is,
away.
right.
I don't build cars. It's
Yeah.
not the standard way you
It's
build
not the standard
cars.
to the
So
vehicle.
Yeah.
that's the best explanation. You can call 40.
I could get the answer for you.
This is what you know.
The answer is, it's not going to be a satisfying
Yeah, okay.
answer. I'm just pointing something out
Thank
here.
you for that.
We're getting upcharged for taking something away.
Thank you for that.
Is
They're not the
the
only people who do that either.
almost $11,000 for the, I guess that's for retrofitting the car or whatever?
Right.
The difference between the price, is that off of the state contract as well, or is that not?
No, that's not. Yeah. That's. I'm not sure if that's off the state contract. That's the labor used to retrofit the cars and all the equipment and the computers and all the stuff that they have.
So I believe we have a motion in a second. All right, all in favor? Thank you. Yeah, Mary Ellen's here.
Yeah.
Good, come on up, we'll do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a little ahead of ourselves in the agenda, so we just kept going. Sure. Thank you. This is in regard to item 6C, just to remind everyone, the senior center ramp/bathroom update. Thank you.
So I'll give you some history here.
Yep.
I'll give you a little history. So we went out to bid for the senior center bathroom and ramp, as we indicated earlier, and we received 3 bids, and the low bid was $196,000. So if you add all the budget together, based on what we had for grant revenue, we have a deficit of about $80,000. So we spent some time trying to see if we can get additional grant funds for the project, and we cannot. So the project has
The grant was 150,
146. Yeah, it's almost 150.
and the full budget came out to be what?
$200,000?
233. 230.
No way that we value engineers.
Well, that's what we're working on.
Possibility.
So we're working on possibly value engineering or looking at re-examining the layout and some of the features and aspects of the program to see if we can do that. Working with the architect and the contractor that was a little bid. I don't know if you have any other thoughts or
Well, by the time we found out that there were not additional funds available, it was really too late to call an emergency meeting of our commission. It just happened the day before yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're going to meet the first Monday in August, which is 2 days before the next commission meeting, and discuss the situation.
Is there a particular time frame that the grant has to be used by? Is there any concern?
No, there's no concern about the grant deadline, no.
Okay.
No.
Except our busy times of the year would be rather inconvenient to push
Right.
it off
The construction
to say
piece.
Thanksgiving
Right,
and
right.
Christmas.
That's a good point.
How do you do
Yeah.
with contingency for this fiscal year?
We have about 185,000, I think.
And no other,
So that's the other thing is I have to see if there's
Nothing else
any
sitting out
other capital projects we can postpone or delay or close or something like that. That would be the other option, is to fund the whole 80,000 and
The ramp is a safety issue.
Yeah.
I think that's
it's got to be
It's
done.
been on
It does,
the
yeah.
books, on the back burner for
I
a
know.
long time.
so we just have to put together. So we just want to give you an update
Right.
that it's not
It's
wasn't in
unfortunate.
budget, so we have to.
I don't
We
very.
bid that out, right?
We did,
Yep.
and this was the low
How many
bid,
bidders did we have?
3.
3.
So we didn't. It wasn't a case where we got one bid and we didn't know if it was. You know, so we just tried.
Yeah, should we try again because maybe it was on the
Right.
line, but there were 3 that were.
The others were.
And the bid is good for 90 days.
Yeah,
right?
so the contractor will hold the price, so that's not a problem.
So I guess
So
we'll
give you an
have you
update.
on the agenda in
Yeah,
August.
so we'll hopefully have it resolved. in
Okay.
And
August.
we can, you guys let us know what you guys think. and
Just to point out, though, that the ramp prediction of the cost was pretty much exact on to
Correct.
what
Good point, yeah.
it was supposed to be, and the bathroom is what drove the price. So I think the
Correct.
contractor's coming
Yeah.
back to look at
Yes,
it
yeah.
one more time to see if
What
there's.
about the bathroom is out of whack, from what we thought, if it is?
I think
Is the bathroom higher than what we
yes,
initially thought?
yes, yeah. That's where
know
most of
why?
that's where most of the overages. I think it has to do with
More than the architect thought.
yeah.
More than that.
So I think the architect underestimated. I think initially.
So,
Plus,
this
there were
is
some
the
charges
bathroom.
for
Yeah.
there was some HVAC issues and based on the location of it.
So the ramp kind of equaled out.
Yeah, it's
We're
the
80 over budget. So the bathroom was 80 over budget.
Yeah. A little less. I mean, there's a little bit on the ramp, but most of it's the bathroom.
Who was our architect?
Architect out of Norwalk. Yeah. So. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll be back in August.
Thanks.
Sharpen your pencils and. Oh, okay, thank you. We have 1 minute. I don't know if we can try to get 60 in. Bond note sale update.
Fine.
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
Want to do that? Or you
Oh,
want to-
bond sale.
quick update? Is it a quick one?
You do as quick as you want.
Except, what's the pleasure of the board? You want to do public
I
comment?
wanted to go through it a little, but
All right, why don't we go?
Why don't we do the
Let's go
public-
public
Yeah.
comment. Okay. 30 seconds left. We'll go. Anyone here for public comment this evening?
Sure.
You just have to state your name and address, please. Thanks, Brian.
So I'm
You
Brian
know, but I have to
Pines,
tell everybody else.
50 Hickory Road, Woodbridge.
Thank you. And we usually ask everybody to try to keep it under 2 minutes. If
Well, I
you can, but-
said Woodbridge because I understand somebody asked if I actually lived in the town. So I do. There's been some, again, I'm the president of the Woodbridge Land Trust. So there's a letter that I had sent to the Board of Selectmen from Kendra Collins, the Northeast Regional Science Coordinator for the American Chestnut Foundation. And I know that you had the chance to look at it, but I don't think that the public really has had the opportunity to understand the position of the American Chestnut Foundation and understand that it's really not up to us to decide what the agreement is. So Kendra had written a letter which I sent to you back in December, and I'm just going to briefly mention what she said and then also address the letter that you have received from me for your meeting. So Kendra said, I'm writing to recommend that the American Chestnut Breeding Orchard, supported in partnership between the Woodbridge Land Trust and the Connecticut chapter of the American Chestnut Foundation, remain devoted entirely to the current use of a chestnut breeding. The orchard, located on the Fitzgerald tract property, was established in 2006 and plays a critical role in the Connecticut chapter of the American Chestnut Foundation's local breeding program to breed a population of blight-resistant American chestnuts adapted to Connecticut forest. TACF is aware that the town of Woodbridge is considering a proposal that would allow a dog park to either share the orchard space or terminate the experiment, which is a concern for the success and utility of the remaining trees and the role they play in a statewide American chestnut breeding effort. The orchard was planted with 3 unique breeding lines created by hand-pollinating wild American chestnuts in Woodbridge, Manchester, and Burlington over the course of 3 years. After growing for almost a decade, the trees were challenged with chestnut blight, and breeding selections were made based on their response to intentional blight infection. Out of over 400 trees, only a handful showed enough resistance to be used for further breeding. The breeding generations that these trees represent is expected to be moderately resistant at best. So while the remaining trees may not look like anything special, they are in fact crucial to producing seed for the next generation of breeding in the local program. Looking to the future, the Connecticut chapter of TACF will be harvesting nuts from the remaining trees in the Woodbridge orchard to plant in their seed orchards. We currently anticipate that this activity will continue for approximately the next 5 years. During this time, it is important to maintain the health of these trees while they combat the intentional blight infections caused by the challenge inoculations. The Pennsylvania chapter of TACF attempted a multi-use American chestnut orchard and dog park on another site in the past, and the urine from the dogs actually killed or stunted many of the trees, and the orchard was a total loss. In addition, the burrs created by American chestnuts when they fruit are extremely spiny and sharp. They are not the most compatible trees for sharing space with dogs. It is my professional opinion that the unique value of the Woodbridge American chestnut breeding orchard will be best preserved by maintaining that single use of the orchard space. The remaining trees represent the end goal of the original planting, and they are the nuts. The nuts they produce over the next 5 years are critical to the success of the local breeding program. I presented this to you. I think it's very clear. I'm also, again, I've told you, I'm very proud that we're part of this organization and doing this research. And I think that, not only maintaining the chestnut trees, but the redwood trees, I understand. I've been studying about, what they're doing to help the redwoods in California. I think what we're doing here is commendable.
Thank you.
The letter, I'm not done.
Okay.
Let me just say, the letter that I presented to you.
2 minutes.
Yeah, we.
Okay, well, I'm almost done.
Okay.
Please, I'll mention to you then just briefly about the consideration that you requested us to have a meeting so that we would discuss the possibility of having a dog park located on 3 selections at Alleghe. Mm-hmm. I had mentioned to you, please be advised that the Woodbridge Land Trust Board of Directors has considered the town of Woodbridge's request for seeking permission to use town-owned property located at 52 Center Road, Woodbridge, for the purpose of locating a dog park within the conservation easement area held by the trust. Upon consideration of the 3 possible locations on the property identified in your June 12th, 2018 letter, the board deems location A as depicted on the map attached to your letter to be the most suitable for a dog park, and that such use is not inconsistent with the terms of the conservation easement. Accordingly, the board grants conceptual approval to use location A, with final approval contingent upon what I had described in the letter. The trust is pleased to see that a viable alternative to locating the dog park in the Chestnut Orchard has been identified. The alternative avoids disrupting and or terminating the valuable, long-standing scientific and educational experiment that Woodbridge residents have supported and expect to see completed. Equally important, It provides a real compromise to relieve the unnecessary acrimony that has resulted from one community organization's attempt to displace and advance its agenda at the expense of another. Thank you for your help in resolving this.
Could we have a copy of that letter? Because I did not receive it.
I sent it to Jerry Shaw over a week ago, and I spoke to Betsy about that. I'm sure that I would have expected that you all would have had a copy.
Mrs. Shaw has been out.
I will hand you then this copy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
Okay,
Did
thank
you
you.
have an opinion on B and C?
Well, we approved A.
Yeah.
But we feel that we had to take into consideration that B and C violate the town's near-term action plan for preserving the natural resource of prime farmland. Those areas in B and C are rich with prime farmland soils. And that's very important. That's one of the things in the easement that we want to maintain. Thank you.
Okay.
The property is zoned for recreation.
Yep.
So B is where the baseball.
Right. Well,
Baseball would actually meet the zoning restrictions for it.
okay. I'm sorry.
Maria Kane, 1891 Litchfield Turnpike. I'm here to read a letter to the public that Amy Morella has written. Amy is out of town, so here goes. Dear members of the Board of Selectmen, as you review potential locations for a dog park, I hope you will keep published guidelines in mind. A few years ago, the City of Ann Arbor, Michigan Park Advisory Commission Dog Park Subcommittee issued recommendations and guidelines for dog park site selection, design, operations, and management.
Maria, we have this letter.
I know, but I was asked to read it so that the public will hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, for the record. I mean, is that?
All right. I just wanted to let you know we all.
I know. I know that.
Because we've read it.
No.
She has some
Okay, go for it.
This document is available on the internet as a PDF file. In preparing the report, Ann Arbor staffs and subcommittee researched the best practices of more than a dozen cities. The report summarizes the placement, design, and management practices of the other cities at page 6 and 7. While the entire document is worth reading, a few considerations specifically apply to the proposal to replace the Fitzgerald Tracks Chestnut Grove with a dog park. First, use conflict avoidance is a consideration. The consulted towns have guidelines on avoiding play areas and other recreational amenities, high-use areas, natural areas and water resources, wildlife, trails, community gardens, and historic sites. Further, in the context of nearby homes, which I believe applies equally to nearby recreational uses, cities recommended making sure that noise and activity lends no more than other park uses. Second, parking should be readily accessible close to the site, sufficient adequate size and convenient. More generally, it is important to consider parking when locating a dog park. All of the cities said that they are complying with the Federal Americans with Disability Act for access of their dog parks. Third, most cities recommend having a source of drinking water, both for dogs and their owners. Fourth, all cities contacted have galvanized or vinyl-coated chain link fences with a minimum height of 4 feet. The Chestnut Grove falls short when matched up to these criteria. Existing parking is located several hundred feet away. ADA-compliant parking spaces would need to be built next to the dog park entrance. Cars driving to the ADA parking would have to traverse existing walking trails in direct conflict with existing walkers. Moreover, the current parking is often full in the late afternoon and early evenings as residents come to enjoy the existing walking trails. The walkers generally are quiet, strolling solo or in small groups with quiet conversation. Some may listen to the birds only occasionally, others stop to identify the singers. Parking space shortages and notice level divergence present two specific use conflicts. The premature ending of an agricultural experiment of potential statewide significance represents another obvious use conflict. Finally, the long stretch of walking trail that runs the length of the existing Chestnut Grove fencing presents a direct use conflict. The Chestnut Grove fencing is agricultural deer fencing, not chain link. Appropriate fencing is needed to keep dogs in any dog park, and especially where, as at the Chestnut Grove, walkers, runners, strollers, and even leash dogs would be using the adjacent walking trail. In this regard, please note that the American Kennel Club too offers guidelines on dog parks, and they too recommend chain link fencing. There is no drinking water at the Chestnut Grove. Indeed, the water available to the community gardeners is unsafe to drink. I recognize and respect that the Board of Selectmen's responsibility to weigh competing factors and interests in siting a dog park. I urge you to review potential sites in light of the criteria offered by other towns. I believe you will find that the Chestnut Grove falls short in meeting the municipal design criteria summarized in the Ann Arbor report. Please also refer to the Ann Arbor document for best management practices once a dog park is in place. The report offers many ideas worth adopting in Woodbridge. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Amy Morella. Thank you for listening and giving me the opportunity to read this to the public for public record.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thanks, Maria.
Anyone else?
Bonnie Blake, Beecher Road, 64 Beecher Road. I don't even know where to begin, so I might need more than 2 minutes. But first off, I'm offended by the comment that a small group of people are pushing to take something away. Just the opposite. A large group of people are working hard to create an amenity for the entire community, open to everyone. Now, how many times people have talked about coming into the dog park without dogs, just to be able to have an outdoor space where they can find humans every day of the week. So we have to look at our resources in our town and what's available to us in the center of town and how many people it would benefit. Certainly a dog park would benefit far more people than some trees. But we never, ever suggested that it was the orchard or anything. And the one who keeps promoting this idea is Amy Morella. We didn't suggest orchard. The town suggested it to us. We've been looking for a dog park for 15 years on the Fitzgerald tract. There's 130 acres. There's no reason we can't find a suitable location on that property. And it does not have to be the orchard. We have reviewed the Ann Arbor study. We've reviewed the Kennel Club. There's no mandate for chain links, but we gave you a proposal how we would strengthen the deer fence. So that's all past history. Long time ago, we dealt with that in the fall. We never have rejected any site but the orchard. Every single site that was suggested to us by the town, whether it was the CCW or the town center, we gave a full, complete analysis and review. We spent a lot of time walking these properties, doing studies on them, and in the end, it ended up being the town that rejected these sites and came down to a Legge or Fitzgerald. We have done our best to be cooperative and positive, trying to create something for the town. It's a cooperative. We have no control over some people coming forward and acting in an ugly manner. That's happened on both sides. We've heard from people complaining about their treatment of the opposition team coming up to the Fitzgerald. Some even said they're uncomfortable even walking there anymore because of the comments made and the misinformation. I also just wanted to correct that was something in the paper and some other comments. I never said that donors would not make donations if it wasn't in the orchard. I never suggested that. I said at the last meeting that there was a sizable donor and some other donors suggested that if it was in a swamp, they would be hard-pressed to donate what they had promised. Equally, there was volunteers who would come to work and rake and clean and spruce up every quarter that would be less than thrilled about cleaning up a swamp. As far as, ADA and elderly access and whatnot, it would have been nice if the person who wrote about that had actually asked the elderly who use the Fitzgerald property every single day, 360 days a year, snow, sleet, rain. You're going to find these 80-plus-year-olds there walking their dogs. We make up, dog walkers, the largest use of Fitzgerald, because you can't just count the spring and the summer and the fall. You have to count all year. We make up the largest use, and I think I had one gardener said, we were here first. I'm sorry. Guess what? You weren't. There were people there before you. And just because the gardeners are there first doesn't mean they get to reject any and all other uses on that property. The elderly are quite happy to walk from the front parking lot to anywhere in the Fitzgerald tract because they do it every single day, twice a day. As far as us presenting an in-depth proposal, we've done it 3 or 4 times. Well, I don't know why the whole board didn't get it, but we'll do another one. We're going to update it and do it, comparing dog parks all across Connecticut and all the features and all the things that have worked, that haven't worked, what problems they've had. We're having a freedom of information request into some towns to find out how many calls they've gotten about dog aggression. So, we are really doing our homework here because this is in our town. We don't want it to fail. ADA compliance. All due respect to Amy, she admitted on record that she doesn't know what the compliance issues are. I know Jerry mentioned that he gotten a letter and that it's very complicated because guess what? They don't know yet because dog parks are so new that they're still struggling. But we had an extensive conversation with the compliance agency, accessfor.org. And they said a lot of the things that we are presuming aren't accurate. You don't have to pave. There isn't a maximum. So the current parking lot is not too far away from, everyone's using the orchard, but let's just say the orchard for example. As far as cars traveling past the gardens and needing parking spots, you're talking about 1 or 2 permit holders, number 1. Number 2, if it were at the orchard, which again we're not saying, let me back up. What Joe put on that map, the G, that area, the land trust was given 3 acres. They only fenced in 1.5. Why not put the dog park in the adjacent 1.5 acres that the land trust is not using? And it would still have really great access to the pathways, to the road, to the parking lot. The road that goes when you come up the main road and it goes into a T, to the left is the porta potty, to the right you're going towards the orchard, that's used by cars every single day. Maybe they're not supposed to, but it's not a walking path, it's cars. So 2 people, up to 2 people who would have a permit from the government for handicapped accessibility might have to drive down that same road the gardeners use every single day of the year or during gardening season and park in 2 spots that Warren found would work. Won't bother wetlands, will be fine. So whether it's in the orchard or the adjacent land is fine. Also, I think you all have access to the Yale School of Forestry Environmental Science study conducted for the town in 2009, in which it was stated that dog parks actually help protect nature. He recommended it for the Fitzgerald tract as a way of getting the dogs from not running on the pathways and into the woods and disrupting nature. Dogs are never going to disrupt nature the way that mowing has and tearing down the brush and the trees took away so much wildlife it made me sick. Dogs don't do that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ramey Ackley, Seymour Road. I just want to point out, she just mentioned it, you have received this study from the Yale School of Forestry where they did an in-depth study of Fitzgerald Fields, the entire tract, and Alice Newton Park. And you have their results, which she just mentioned. They said, we think you should have a dog park in Woodbridge. If dog walkers have a legal option for exercising their dogs off leash and they are informed as to the motivation behind leash laws protecting wildlife and park users, then leash laws on the properties are more likely to be obeyed voluntarily. Having a dog park presents low risks to other park users and low risks to wildlife. Furthermore, we have visited all of the local dog parks at a close radius to this town and have found that the following dog parks are close or near high-use areas, just like our little area over there. Many, if not most, of the newer dog parks have purposefully sited their parks adjacent to nature, walking and hiking trails, as they have learned that these passive recreation uses are the most compatible. In Hamden, for example, their dog park is right across from Bassett Park Playground and the baseball fields. In Naugatuck, they got $80,000 from the state through a grant to create a beautiful dog park next to their hiking trails and, I might add, their community gardens. Milford is in the process of constructing their new dog park because the first one didn't work. Nobody wanted to go there. So now it is in the Eisenhower Park complex that includes a playground and hiking trails. Guilford, where we just went recently and sat down with their leader, and she talked to us in depth about how they're close, same property as the town baseball park. They share the same parking lot. They don't have any issues. Shelton, adjacent to an 11-mile-long network of hiking trails, including the multi-use Shelton Lakes Recreation Path. There is no reason why having a dog park on the Fitzgerald tract is incompatible with nature or with the people that are already there. In fact, it will make things better, especially in light of the new leash law that you just cited. And it's going to make everybody happy. And it's safer. Just take out your report that Bonnie gave everybody. I hope you all received it. She gave it to Beth on this Yale study. They have so much information in here that proves that we're not trying to destroy nature, that a dog park will actually benefit nature. I ask you to revisit this document. Thank you.
Michelle Ditzy and 10 Timber Lane in Woodbridge, and I have a letter and I will not read it. To begin with, I want to thank, I'm one of the dog ladies, one of the dog park ladies, but I want to thank Amy Morella, because at one point, I think it was 2 meetings ago, she alleged that that some people didn't know which petition they were signing and that there were people who had signed both petitions. And we thought, no, can't be. And then I went in and did the math and crunched the names, and in fact, she was right. There are 7 people who signed petitions on both sides of the issue. One of them had been discounted by us initially because she had written that she wanted it on Fitzgerald but not in the orchard, and so we took her off. But so remaining, there are still 6 that signed both petitions. 2 of them indicated on the not on Fitzgerald petition that they had signed ours, that they were sorry they'd signed it. Okay, that's opposition camp. And then one of the people who signed both actually signed ours twice. So there's some issues. What I did was I'm not reading the letter because I named names. There are people who signed one petition several times. There are people who signed the other petition several times. There are people who signed both petitions. And so I looked through really as extensively as I can, and it says in here, I regret the 2 people who signed ours twice, because it was the kind of thing I was looking for and I hadn't caught that. But the upshot is, with the 2 batches of each petition, the current count, not that this matters in any way, but the current count is now 215 against the Fitzgerald and 624 for Fitzgerald. Not the orchard, but for locating a dog park on Fitzgerald. So that's the final numbers. I do thank Amy Morella for bringing that to our attention. I really didn't think it was so, and it was, and I apologize. Thank you. So that's to be given to everybody.
Anyone else?
Can I say something?
Quickly.
Okay, Maria Kane, 1891 Litchfield Turnpike. I was chairman of conservation when we hired Yale to evaluate management plans for both the most used parks in our town, which is Fitzgerald and Alice Newton. And they recommended a dog park because at that time it was like, dogs were just in and out, and they were in fact disturbing habitat. Howsoever, they did not say specifically that we should have a dog park in the park. They just recommended that maybe the town should consider a dog park to get them off the Fitzgerald property, as they were in fact disturbing habitat in a great way. I just wanted to make that clarification. Thank you very much.
Maybe we should read. I think maybe we should read. You mean to start here?
Yes, ma'am.
We suggest creating a dog park in Woodbridge. The Fitzgerald Track, with its unused meadows below the community gardens and established status as an outdoor social hub, is one possible location, not rejected. However, other properties in town may be equally or better suited for this project. We predict that a dog park would be used extensively, as a large number of dog walkers currently use the properties. Currently, citizens of Woodbridge travel to dog parks in nearby towns to use their facilities. We feel that this clear demand justifies the initial investment to build a park. Two of our recommendations generate money for the park.
You can skip that, that's done.
Okay. Proper education of the public as the importance of leash laws is another means of mediating the situation. Often park users do not have a clear understanding as to why they are being told to leash their pets. A simple but focused sign explaining the impacts of dogs on wildlife could be posted next to all the signs which stipulate leash use. If dog walkers have a legal option, this is the important part, if dog walkers have a legal option, like a dog park, for exercising their dogs off leash, and they are informed as to the motivation behind leash laws protecting wildlife and park users, then leash laws on the properties are more likely to be obeyed voluntarily. This decreases the need for the strict enforcement of leash laws while still garnering most of the benefits. I'm sorry, I'm so passionate right now and upset that, once again, we are under attack for something we've already approved. It's just hard for me to not shake in my voice, because 600 and how many people have signed a petition, and we can keep going. It's time to get this dog park created.
Thank you. Okay, we've got to stop this discussion now, because Terry's got to leave at 7 and we've got to get. But thank you. Okay, if you have anything else, send us an email. That would be great. Okay, thank you. Moving on, item 6E, bond note sale update.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I have your short report.
Yeah.
So we had a bond and a note sale, and we just a couple of things I want to bring to your attention, which I think are important. First is that for the taxable note sale, the taxable rates are going up. So if we have to borrow at a taxable rate for the country club, it's now 3%. Last year was 2%. The year before was 1%. So our taxable rates have gone up significantly. Something to keep in mind as we decide the future of the country club. The other thing is, and we issued bonds for the radio project, which is $2.1 million at 2.4%. So that was actually below our estimates. So we'll get the funds for the radio project next Thursday. So we're doing well there.
Good.
Secondly, we had a Moody's report, which is in your package, and I just want to bring, this is sort of a good sort of financial analysis of the town. And so the report gives us a AAA rating, which indicates a sound financial position, conservative budgeting, and it's low fixed costs. So the fixed costs are something they continually look at, which is retiree health care, pension liability, and debt service. So those are the fixed costs that you can't change very easily. And it gives you sort of credit strengths, which is our strong financial management, our residential, our stable tax base, and manageable debt position. Just to keep in mind as you move forward in your decisions, 3 things to consider is a reduction in our general fund balance, and it sort of ties into that can lead to a downgrade. Reduction in our fund balance ties to the decline in the tax base, and that was sort of mentioned in our review about the tax base, about how our tax base hasn't really grown, and that could be a problem in the future. So I just wanted, you'll see a credit challenge that says limited tax base. So I just sort of want to keep that, bring that to your attention. But that we've done a good job on decreasing our debt burden was mentioned a lot. So just thought I'd mention those things to you.
Thank you.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
Decrease, but perhaps we shouldn't be too ready to increase.
Correct. You keep an eye on your fund balance. That should be a little higher because we don't have a large tax base. So you have to have fund balance in case you have a problem. And you should keep an eye on your debt burden and your fixed costs, which we've been doing. Okay? Yep.
Okay. Item 7, Town Council's reports.
Nothing, mine is the executive session.
Thank you. Item 8, Assistant Administrative Officer's report. Betsy.
So I have good news. I think it was 2 months ago that we talked about the community signboard, the concept that would hopefully eliminate the A-frames that are used to announce events. I reached out to 3 Boy Scout troops and heard back first from Troop 41. They've got 2 potential Eagle Scouts, and they've expressed interest in the project. So we may see that go forward in the near future. So that's exciting.
Great.
It's great news.
Yeah.
Eliminate all that.
Yeah, the clutter. Yeah.
Maybe they can do the whole wayfinding.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're in charge, Joe.
Yeah.
So this is one small piece of a larger draft plan that Beth has asked me to work on. And the plan's goal is to move us towards Beth's vision of a center of town that's, kind of spruced up, and it's more of a place where people want to linger and find reasons to interact with each other and maybe meet neighbors that they didn't know were their neighbors. And so it's just a draft, it's a work in progress, but I wanted to give you a few ideas of things that are on the plan. So there's a couple different categories. There are a few things that are relatively easy. Installing outdoor seating, improving or expanding our Wi-Fi. There are categories that are more costly and probably longer term, like expanding our sidewalk network in the center of town, the wayfinding program. And then there are other things on the list that are already in progress, like the creation of the Meeting House Cafe that will soon open at the Senior Center, and the community signboards that I just mentioned. So we're trying to think about short-term and long-term how to make this a more desirable place for people to hang out. So if there are things that you think should be on the plan, please let me know, and hopefully I can present it to you next month, and we can go from there and see what that looks like. And separately, I wanted to let you all know I've been working with CT Rides to try and encourage carpooling for Woodbridge residents and people who live elsewhere but commute to Woodbridge to work. This Friday, EDC members will be at a Food Truck Friday event. This is a weekly happening in the summer down in the business district, and they'll be there to discuss and promote carpooling.
So if there's enough interest from folks, we may be able to hold something called a Meet Your Match event. It's sort of like speed dating for carpooling. So people can learn more about the program, see the people that they might be sharing a ride with before actually committing to getting in the car with that person. That's a big step. I'm also going next week to the Yale Sustainability Office to reach out to them to talk about how we can encourage Woodbridge residents who work at Yale to commute together. So the whole idea here is to try and get people off the road or reduce the amount of cars on the road, especially now that we've got the DOT project going on in the business district. And hopefully this could get us some sustainable CT points. And with that,
perfect segue. Item 9, communication director grant writer.
I just want to provide an update on sustainable CT. We're very pleased that in the initial round of pre-check-in, kind of pre-flight check on some of our application items, we did receive 25 points towards our certification. That means we need another 175. And what we've done is the Sustainability Committee has looked through a very, very long list to target the things that we think we can get achieved by the deadline, which is August 24th. So we're working on that, and I've provided you with a little update to let you know we have one of our Amity High School interns wanted to come back and continue to do some volunteer work over the summer to help with this. That's Eva Glassman. So she is helping to get our documents together for us and just organize the paperwork that's involved in submitting. We found that when we submitted our items, Jonathan Gorham, who's the ad hoc committee chairman, and I were on a phone call afterwards that talked about the pros and cons of the different applications and what troubles some people ran into. We actually didn't run into any trouble. What we submitted was accepted. Other communities, I know Bethany submitted for about 100 points and got 18 total. So we submitted for 25 and we got the 25. So we feel like we know what we have to do and we're going to get it done. We have a couple of things coming up. I know Beth invited everyone on the Board of Selectmen to an event that is happening on Tuesday, the Community Resilience Building Workshop, which is like a half-day event. This is as a result of we applied for and we sort of won this training, so it's a free of charge to us. We've extended the invitation to Bethany so we can do some cross-border kind of collaboration on that. So that's happening Tuesday. And then we have another webinar about organic recycling for municipal programs. We're hoping that can inform what's currently in front of the Ordinance Committee regarding our recycling and solid waste. And then John Gorham was actually at something today. So that was the last bit of update on this. And we look like we're in good shape, and I will be reporting back to you at your August meeting. That's my update.
Item 10, Town Clerk's Report. You have in reports, actually, there's two of them. You have in the packet the Town Clerk's Report dated July 1, 17 through June 30th, 2018, and the monthly June 1st through June 30th. And I'll make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
Anybody questions or anything on that? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Also, we received we had Nancy Pope has resigned from GATBOC, and due to too many responsibilities and conflicting schedules, and she commented about the PUA had been an excellent job as coordinator, and the town is well served by the government access Channel 79, so we will accept her resignation with regret. And we also received a resignation from David Glassman as of June 21st. He's stepping down from the Town Planning and Zoning Committee to unforeseen circumstances. Let's go with that. Okay, he's writing. So he wanted to we accept his resignation also with regret. I believe he's an alternate, correct? Okay. So we'll put our thinking caps on going forward with those two. Item 12 on the agenda is the minutes of June 13th. I'll make a motion that we approve them as submitted.
Second.
Any questions, corrections, anything? All in favor? Aye. Thank
I'll
you.
abstain on that.
What?
Because I wasn't here, I think I have to abstain.
Okay, you will abstain. Okay, thank you. So it's approval of 5 and 1 abstention. Thank you very much. Item 13 is authorize the FY 2018 COLA for non-union employees cost of living increase. I think that's what that stands for.
Cost of living adjustment.
Adjustment, okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll turn over to Tony for a little help on the play.
So as we've done historically here in Woodbridge, the union employees have contracts through 2019, and so the cost of living adjustment for union employees in contract for the upcoming fiscal year is 2.5%. So the non-union employees do not have a cost of living adjustment unless authorized by this board. So this.
How do we determine the COLA?
It's the same as the union. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not they publish those numbers.
Yeah.
In regions, but we don't use that.
We use the same as was given to our union members. We give the same adjustment to non-union.
So
that's what that is.
being said,
So
thank you.
2.5%.
Right.
Yep, 2.5. I will make a motion to approve a cost of living salary increase of 2.5% for non-union full-time and regular part-time employees effective July 1, 2018, in accordance with the compensation package for union employees as set forth in the agreement between the Town of Woodbridge and AFSCME. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion?
So just another question. That's in our budget already.
Correct. Yep.
Do we have union employees working in the same jobs as non-union?
Not the same jobs, no, but same offices.
Same offices.
Yes.
Is there a different pay scale?
Yes. There are different pay scales, but it's the same.
Pay scale would be by position, right?
Yeah, it's by position. Yeah. And we've historically done this since I've been here.
Yeah, I was reading actually that.
I think I
we did last
understand you,
year.
right, but we don't have. They may be in the same office, but it's. I think it's not that they're. Well, for instance, finance, right?
Right.
Say finance. If you had
Good example.
If you had two employees, do you have one who's union and one who isn't?
Yes.
Okay. And the one who's a union has a more of an executive type job, or
The one who's non-union is salary.
Is salary.
Correct.
Okay.
And the union is hourly.
Right. So the hourly one gets the union rate.
Right. Gets the union scale, union rate, union contract, union increase. So we have historically here afforded the same COLA increase to non-union employees.
If I can just bring up one thing, it relates somewhat to this, and it relates somewhat to what the report you gave in regard to our rating, financial rating, and what we've discussed numerous times about getting together and discussing the next year's budget on an early basis with all the different departments. This seems to kind of play into that because, again, it's something we've historically done. But along the lines of what you said in the report, times are changing. Not to say that we don't want to do this at all. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm just wondering if
I could just tell
get
you
back to our conversation.
If you did a separate COLA, if you did no COLA increase or a separate COLA increase for non-union employees that you did for union employees,
no,
you'd have a big problem.
Well, I understand, and that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just using this.
No, I think it's a good point. It's another.
Actually, my point was just that can we bring up having another session like we did before to discuss the budget and bring that up early?
It's on my radar.
Okay, that's because we.
Well, because you start the budget process in October.
Correct.
We were talking about August or September.
Right.
I know, but we only have 2 more months.
I got that.
That's what I wanted to bring up. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up.
No, that's good. Good reminder. Thank you.
Okay, executive.
Do we motion
You're going to
second?
move to go into executive.
Wait,
Wait a second, the motion.
Oh.
I need a second for the COLA. Did
I'll second it.
Okay, and any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
David? Okay, thank you. And now, item 14, last on the agenda, we have an executive session I will make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-200, paren 6 and paren B, by Jeffrey Libby. And I would invite into the executive session Attorney Weiner and Tony Genovese and the Board of Selectmen. And that's it? Is that it? Okay. Thank you. So that's our last item on the agenda. So.